On March 22, 2005, God of War burst onto the PlayStation 2, introducing players to a brutal, fast-paced action game that was steeped in Greek mythology. But it wasn't just the combat that left an impression. At the center of it all was Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, a rage-fueled warrior whose tragic tale of vengeance would go on to define one of PlayStation's most iconic franchises. Over the years, God of War evolved, seeing releases on almost every PlayStation console from the PlayStation 2, the PSP, and eventually the PS5. The series continued to push the boundaries of storytelling, gameplay, and spectacle, cementing itself as a pillar of PlayStation and gaming history. Now I'm taking on the challenge of getting the platinum in every single God of War game. From the original PS2 classics to the epic reinvention of the series, we're diving into every challenge, every boss fight, and every brutal trophy these games have to offer. This is my journey to platinum the God of War series. Let's get started.
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me.
For this series, I'm playing through the God of War games in release order, starting with the original 2005 God of War. Covering this game is going to be a little different from the rest. I first played it back in 2018 while preparing for the new God of War, but I didn't finish it at the time. This was also before I got serious about trophy hunting, though I did unlock 23 of the 36 trophies, mostly story-related ones and a few for defeating mini bosses. Looking back, I'm surprised by some of the trophies I did unlock at the time. I don't remember using a guide, yet somehow I found all the Gorgon Eyes, Phoenix Feathers, and Muse Keys. The biggest shock though was earning the trophy for climbing the spiked column in Hades without taking damage. There are 2 of these columns, so I might have gotten lucky with the first one, but this was the section that made me rage quit all those years ago. Those damn columns were brutal. It got so bad that I yanked the disc out of my console, breaking it in the process. So not only did I miss out on the ending, but I also never experienced God of War 2 outside of watching a story recap on YouTube. But today, we're fixing that. I only had 13 trophies left before earning the platinum, and most of them weren't too concerning. Since I had already taken care of a lot of story trophies, I won't dwell on them too much here, though it is a fantastic opening chapter in Kratos' journey. My main focus was the speedrun trophy for completing the game in under 5 hours. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm not a big fan of speedrun trophies, but since I had most of the other trophies, I figured I would tackle it during this playthrough. To make things easier, I did play the game on easy. I wasn't looking for a challenge just yet. Aside from that, I had a few story-related trophies and some missable ones to keep an eye out for. With all of that setup out of the way, let's get started. Kratos' journey begins in the Aegean Sea as he seeks to defeat the Hydra at Poseidon's request. Fighting waves of undead legionnaires to learn the basics, it wasn't long until I unlocked my 24th trophy to get the ball rolling by opening a chest when my health bar is already full. Defeating the Hydra, this sets Kratos on his journey to defeat the God of War, Ares, not only out of revenge, but to save the city of Athens. Setting sail, my next trophy came from the infamous sex minigame. A staple of the early God of War games, it's wild that there is a trophy for this, but given how synonymous it is with the series, whether for better or worse, it makes sense. Once this spicy activity was complete, I entered the war-torn streets of Athens, where more challenging enemies and puzzles awaited. We soon receive a message from the Oracle telling us to look for her temple. Fighting through a town square and the rooftops of Athens, we find the Oracle who is taken by harpies. Reaching her temple, we meet this gravedigger who rambles on about how I will soon occupy this grave. It's a little elusive, but like he says,
all will be revealed in good time.
After a fight against some harpies, and my own balance on these beams, I find the Oracle hanging from a rope in the gardens. Before I could rescue her, I had to maneuver into the right position, which took a second to figure out. Once I grabbed the vines, a cutscene showed the path I needed to take, and honestly, I don't know why I stressed over this. The game gives you 70 seconds, which is more than enough time, as I saved her with 18 to spare.
The events that would lead to his downfall.
After thanking Kratos, she sent me on the path to retrieve Pandora's box, the key to killing a god. To reach it, I had to cross the desert of lost souls, where I fought sirens and minotaurs before blowing a horn to summon Kronos, who carried Pandora's temple on his back. This temple makes up a large chunk of the game, and it's where I knocked out several missable trophies. In the Challenge of Atlas, I unlocked Hitman 2 for reaching a 200 hit combo. While there are other spots to do this, I saw online that this was the easiest. After picking up a shield, waves of enemies spawned endlessly, and I couldn't progress until they were defeated. Using Poseidon's Rage and the Blade of Chaos combos, it took a few tries as I messed up some button inputs, but it wasn't as bad as I expected. This challenge also set me up for another trophy. Since I was focused on the speedrun, I wasn't taking my time opening red orb chests or defeating too many enemies to acquire them naturally. However, I kept checking the website PlayStation Trophies to make sure I was on the right track with my speed run when I saw an entry for an infinite red orb glitch. I followed a video guide and, to my surprise, pulled it off on my first try. I let the orbs flow for about 20 minutes until I had enough to fully upgrade the weapons and magic I had so far, while saving for one last ability I'd get soon. Next was the challenge of Poseidon. There is a lot of swimming here, and this is where I encountered the Naiads. The first one was right along the main path, so I have no idea how I missed it before, but I made sure to kiss it this time for a Phoenix Feather and another trophy. Finally, I reached the challenge of Hades, where I received the last magic ability. With the red orbs I farmed earlier, I maxed out all my weapons and magic. That took care of all the missable trophies, so my only goal now was to finish the game in under 5 hours. With about an hour and some change left on the clock, I needed to move fast. Wrapping things up in Pandora's Temple, I hit a platforming section that nearly drove me insane. Bro, who made these freaking platforms, dog? This is some bullshit. I spent a solid 10 minutes here before finally securing what I needed to unlock Pandora's box. One more frustrating encounter with some harpies later, and the box was finally within my grasp. In the middle of the battle for Athens, Ares discovers that I found the box and responds by launching a spear that impales Kratos in the temple. As the life drains from him, we see how he earns the title Ghost of Sparta before being dragged to the underworld, the very place that ended my playthrough all those years ago. But I wasn't about to let history repeat itself. With this being the most platform-heavy level in the game, I knew I had to lock in. I carefully maneuvered through countless deadly obstacles until I came across it again, the spiked column. I knew this was going to be frustrating, but with the end in sight, I pushed ahead. Time after time, I was knocked off, but I stayed patient. This game can kiss my freaking ass, dude. It can kiss my left booty cheek for all I care. After another grueling 10 minutes, I finally conquered the obstacle that had stopped me years ago. From here, everything was a breeze. Honestly, it was wild to see how much of the game I had left, considering it only took me a few minutes to reach the end of the level. A rope dropped with a stone block attached, and I climbed it to escape the underworld, unlocking the next long-awaited story trophy after almost 7 years.
Ah, Kratos, and not a moment too soon.
With the finish line in sight, I found myself back in Athens, thanks to the Gravedigger. After cutting through the final enemies in my path, I reached Ares, who now wielded Pandora's box. Using the Bolt of Zeus, we released its power, finally opening the box and unleashing the power of the gods. At last, after all these years, I was ready to face Ares in the final battle. The fight is split into 3 phases. The first is your standard boss fight. Unleash the Blades of Chaos and throw in some magic until Ares has had enough. The second phase shifts the tone as we defend Kratos' wife and daughter from waves of enemies, his past literally standing before him. Ares strips Kratos of his powers, leaving him defenseless. Just as he was about to be struck down, the gods intervene. Kratos picks up a sword, one that was just a simple bridge from the game's early levels, and the final phase begins. I actually thought this last phase was handled in a cool way. You and Ares share a single health bar, with it shifting to whoever is dealing damage. I can see how this might get frustrating after a few minutes, but I like the concept. After a hard-fought battle, Ares was finally defeated.
Remember, Kratos, it was I who saved you. In your time of greatest need, I was trying to make you a great warrior.
You succeeded.
Despite being forgiven by the gods, the memories of his family still haunted him. Desperate for peace, he attempts to end his suffering, but the gods have other plans. Athena raises him from the sea.
Can we get much higher?
and Kratos ascends to take the place as the new God of War, bringing our story to an end. With that, I unlock trophies for beating the game on any difficulty and for completing it in under 5 hours. For those curious, my final speedrun time was 4 hours and 24 minutes. I stuck around for the credits, mostly zoning out, but near the end, I noticed something really cool. The videos playing were part of a collage, shaped like the ghost of Sparta. There's also an MCU-style tease saying Kratos will return, which I found kinda funny. With the story complete, only a couple more things stood between me and the platinum. The first was easy, watching the Birth of the Beast treasure video.
When men ask for the origin of Kratos,
Next, I had to tackle the challenge of the gods. According to PSN profiles, this is the hardest trophy in the game, and aside from the spiked column, I can definitely see why. It's one of the rarest trophies in God of War, with only a 4.3% unlock rate. I've never participated in the challenge mode in any of the God of War games, so I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The biggest hurdle for this game's challenge mode is that I had to complete them all in one sitting, as progress isn't saved. The first challenge started off simple. I just had to knock 8 enemies off the platform before time ran out. The second, however, was where the difficulty quickly spiked. This time, I had to eliminate all archers and undead soldiers within a tight time limit. While 115 seconds might seem generous, I was struggling. It took me 6 attempts before I finally utilized everything I had and pulled it off. Challenge 3 seemed straightforward, but still took some effort. I had to break all pots within 20 seconds, a deceptively short time window. Things picked up from there. I had to kill 4 minotaurs, but none of the undead soldiers in Challenge 4, and shoot only the undead soldiers in Challenge 5. The difficulty ramped up again in Challenge 6, where I had just 35 seconds to reach this center platform. At first, it was brutal, but once I got the timing down, I could blast through the early platforms with ease. The real problem came when I was close to the archers in the center, as their arrows could send me plummeting to my death in an instant. It was frustrating, but doable. Challenge 7 wasn't easy either, but it paled in comparison to what was coming. This time I had to kill all enemies without getting hit. Blocking wasn't an option, meaning my only line of defense was dodging. Even my go-to moves weren't always reliable, but somehow I managed. Then came Challenge 8, easily the most grueling. The objective was simple, kill all enemies, but when I realized who I'd be fighting and for how long, my optimism vanished. This challenge threw soldiers and gorgons at me. By now the soldiers weren't a problem unless there were a lot of them, but the gorgon stone attacks were a different story. 4 of them were present at any given time, and they could all try to freeze me simultaneously. My best option was to rely on the Lance of Furies, but I had to be careful, as getting frozen midair meant an instant death the moment I hit the ground. This was a battle of endurance. The fight could last roughly 15 minutes, and if I died at any point, I would have to restart the whole thing. And unfortunately, that did happen numerous times.
Oh no, bro! I was doing so good.
This challenge alone took me 40 minutes to complete. After countless retries, I finally saw the end in sight with only 2 gorgons left in the arena. Taking them down finished what I would consider to be the most frustrating challenge of them all.
Come on, baby, this is the last one. Come on, come on. Yes! Oh my God, it's finally over.
But I wasn't done yet. I still had 2 more to go. Luckily, they weren't nearly as bad. In Challenge 9, I had to kill 4 Cyclopses in under 2.5 minutes, which was manageable with everything I had unlocked. Then came the final challenge, reaching the far platform. To do this, I had to defeat satyrs and Cerberus pups to lower the platform. It was challenging, sure, but compared to what I had already endured, it felt like a walk in the park, clearing it in just a couple of minutes.
Bro, finally done with these freaking challenges. Dude, that was brutal.
With all the challenges complete, I walked away with the trophy, and more importantly, the long-awaited platinum for God of War. After 7 years, God of War was finally platinumed. Considering this is arguably the hardest platinum in the series, I'm glad things played out the way they did. With most of the trophies knocked out in 2018, I only had to focus on the more tedious ones for my second playthrough, like the speedrun trophy. While it would have been nice to experience the game as a whole for the first time, without all the rage, this was still an incredible way to kick off this series. But this is just the beginning. With God of War now 100% complete, 36 trophies are under my belt for the God of War series. In the next video, my journey continues with God of War 2, which, as I mentioned before, is the only game in the franchise I had never played. Now it's time to see if this sequel can live up to its legendary status.